We've talked about governments, we've talked about NGOs. What does the shift in power mean for the world's major religions?
That is one of the most fascinating stories that I think I include in the book, tracing what is happening to the mega players in religion, established religions, the Vatican, the Catholic Church, the established Protestant, mainstream Protestant churches. They're losing market share around the world. In Latin America, for example, they're striking how in Brazil, for example, in the Brazilian census of 1970, 90% of Brazilians said that they were Catholics. In the 2010 census, the number had dropped to 65. 500,000 Brazilians leave the Catholic Church every year. The same is happening in Guatemala, which is now predominantly where Catholics are now a minority. It's happening in Nigeria. It's happening in the Philippines. It's happening. So again, what's happening is that you have all kinds of new forms of religions, of Christianity. You have the Pentecostalists, you have charismatic, what they call charismatic groups that are surging and competing effectively in attracting people that used to essentially, their parents and grandparents and their family were always in one institutionalized religion, and they're now abandoning it. And so that's another I think, very illustrative examples of why now power is harder to keep and easier to get and much harder to use.
Do you have another question?
What about Islam?
Islam is very interesting because, again, Islam is practiced in some of the regions of the world where the three revolutions are more intense. Think about all of North Africa, the Middle East, think of places like Indonesia and India, where there's a significant Muslim population. And there, of course, the challenge has been hyper-fragmentation, because it had never had a centralized, it's not like the Catholic Church that has a hierarchy, has a central center of power and order and organization that establishes a unified, homogeneous doctrine and rules. Islam has had always a far more fragmented way of leading their religion. And now that fragmentation has multiplied and exploded, and it's making it very hard even to define exactly where the central points that unify Islam as a religion. Where do they come from? Do they come from Saudi Arabia or from somewhere in Pakistan? Or where are the sources that are the central theological doctrines from Islam?